Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Ryan O'Neill.
And glad to have with us on the line this Thursday morning, June the 6th, 2019. Steuben County IDA and Steuben County Democrat Chair Shawn Hogan. A lot of the hat, the biggest hat you'll be wearing this morning, I believe, Shawn, will be your Steuben County Democratic Chairman hat. Good morning and thanks for joining us, Shawn.
Good morning, and it's the City of Hornell IDA, not Steuben County.
Oh, did I appoint you to the county IDA? Well, congratulations.
No, thank you.
All righty. Well, Shawn Hogan, let's start out with county Democrat chairman questions. The Democrats that you have lined up for common council race, if we could go over that list. And also, what's the latest on the Randy Weaver seat? He was not able to get on the line due to petition objections on the Democratic line in Steuben County due to petition objections. What's the latest with Randy Weaver?
Well, as you know, there was a challenge to Randy's Democratic petitions, and because of a technical error, 3 of Randy's petition sheets were thrown out, which left him 1 signature short of qualifying for the Democratic line. Randy decided to run as an independent, which is a blank. It's not independence. Independence is a party. He's running as a blank or an independent, and he names you make your own party line, which is for the people. And Randy put an effort out there, assisted by the Democratic Committee, to get enough signatures to qualify for the ballot as an independent candidate running on the line of for the people or we the people. And he is qualified and will be on the ballot with the strong backing. He is a Democrat. We will be backing him and working hard for him for county legislature. I think he's represented our community well, and he deserves to be returned to office. So that, I think, hopefully that ends that saga. And number 2, the number of councilmen, as far as I know, that are running, because like Sam Naska is the city chair, but I believe in the 9th ward, in the 1st ward, we have an incumbent, Melissa Ponticello. The 2nd ward, we have Jeff Brown, who is an incumbent. The 3rd ward, we have a newcomer to politics, John Allison, who is a union electrician and lives on Maple Street. And he is a lifelong Hornell resident, very, very nice young man, and wants to get active in the community. He makes a very a viable and interesting candidate. In the 4th ward, we have an incumbent running, Richard Argentieri, and Rich has done a good job in his ward. He's well-liked by his constituency. The 5th ward, we're not challenging Dan Warner. The 6th ward, there's no challenge to Jessica Cleveland, who is Republican. The 7th ward, we have Fred Lehman. You know, Fred is a longtime alderman in the 7th ward who has done a great job. You know, Fred was injured years ago in an auto accident and left him confined to a wheelchair. And there's a guy that's worked hard for his constituency, gets out. He hasn't let his injuries or handicapping condition affected him one bit. And he is an inspiration to me personally, but also to everyone in his ward. So Fred will do a good job. In the 8th ward, we don't have a challenger. In the 9th ward, we have Ron Naska, who is running for the 2nd time for that seat. And Ron is a longtime resident of the 9th ward. And he worked hard the last time, came up short, and he wanted to take another run at it. And I believe he'll do a great job if elected. I know he'll work hard. And in the 10th ward, you have a longtime incumbent, John Carbone. So we have 7 Democrats running for office, and we, if they work hard, then they should, they should be successful. I know all politics is local, and it's about commitment to community, not so much party, but I think we have a strong Democratic field.
Wondering, Shawn, have you been in touch at all lately as Steuben County Democratic Chairman with either Tracy Matrano, who's Congressman Tom Reed's Democrat opponent, or Austin Morgan, the young Cornell student who wants to run for the Senator Kathy Young seat over in Allegheny County?
Well, Austin Morgan isn't in our senatorial district, so I haven't had any contact with him, so to speak. Tracy Matrano was out there working, trying to build support among the different counties and the county committees. She spends a lot of her time in the western end of the 23rd District, which is Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County. As you know, recently our last county Republican Democratic committee meeting, committee as a whole met, and Tracy spoke and was endorsed unanimously by those in attendance for the Democratic candidacy for the 23rd District. So she is our candidate. As far as I know, in the 23rd, there might be another candidate, a perennial candidate that normally runs as a write-in, but now I believe he said he's going to run as a Democrat, is Dr. Scott Noren, who is a physician from Ithaca. So I don't know how that is going to play out. But Tracy is the favorite, and the candidate that Steuben County Democrats have voted to endorse and support.
Now, Tracy Matrano doesn't wait too long after the election to get back on the campaign trail, Shawn.
No, she didn't, which was kind of surprising to me. She put a lot of time and effort and capital, her own personal resources into that campaign, and I think she felt the momentum coming her way in the later days of that campaign, and she wanted to, make her intentions known early, which she did. I think what hurt her candidacy is that there were so many Democratic candidates. There was 8 or 9 that initially started running for office to challenge Tom Reed, and there was a lot of time and effort and capital spent in a primary election, which this time we're all trying to avoid. But we'll see how it plays out. The election isn't until 2020, and it always seems to me that these campaigns are starting earlier and earlier. That one ends and another one begins. It's kind of mind-boggling. But we'll see what happens. It's early, and she's working hard, and we'll see. One of the things I wanted to talk to your listeners about, and I think early in the legislative session in New York, there was a lot of changes to the election law. And one of those being conforming the time for primaries with the federal calendar. So the New York State primaries are no longer going to be held in September. They'll be held in June. So there'll be a lot of primary elections, for town and local offices that are being challenged intra-party this coming June, which that's what led to having to pass petitions for candidates for office for the Republican and Democratic Party in February, which was a challenge because it's hard enough to get signatures for candidates and get people to get out and volunteer to do that. But in the middle of February and cold months, it can be a challenge, and it proved to be a challenge. And now that everyone is used to that cycle, I think the voters will get used to it, and they won't be as confused when people or committeemen or volunteers go up to them in February and March and request that they sign petitions for a candidate of their choice. Another thing that this has done is they established early voting. Now, this is a pilot program. This is the first year, and early voting will be allowed And in Steuben County, they've opted to have the early voting center in Bath to see how it plays out. I'm not too fond of that. I think they should have an early voting center spread throughout the county. I know there's a concern about costs, but I think if we're going to have early voting, in order for it to be effective, it should be an early voting center in Corning. There should be one in Hornell, and there should be one in Bath, which pretty much covers the geography of the county. Right now in Steuben County, early voting will be in October, and it will be at one location in Bath, New York. There'll be more about that from the Board of Elections, but in the future years, in years to come, since this is the first year where New York State has had early voting, it'll be, it should be interesting to see how utilized it is being in just one location. So we'll see what happens this year and plan accordingly for future years. Another thing I just found out is that the legislature is about to pass legislation, if they haven't already passed it, about universal registration, that you're automatically become a registered voter in New York State, and when you reach the age of 18. Now, I don't know the specifics of that. I don't know where that's going, but I believe it's going to pass. So I think what would happen to be, how do you select a party? How do you select an affiliation? Another thing that voters should know is that actually those people who are registered unaffiliated or blank or independent, as they call them, blank registrations, those people who are unaffiliated with any party, has actually grown to the point where it outnumbers registered Democrats or registered Republicans in the community. So when you're running as a Democrat or a Republican, there's a huge amount of voters who are unaffiliated, registered blank, that really tops the numbers of the local registered Democrats or Republicans. So that's an interesting point to watch. I think people are getting a little bit disillusioned with party politics, and I don't blame them. But looking at the what's going on in Washington and the stalemates, and so we'll see how that plays out. But I think that's an interesting tidbit statistic.
We're going to take a break. When we come back with Steuben County Democratic Chairman Shawn Hogan, we're going to talk about former Senate candidate Leslie Danks Burke and her Trailblazers organization. Stay with us.
It's where you get answers to important questions. It's where you get the most advanced care. It's where you are. The UR Medicine Women's Imaging and Breast Center is coming to Hornell in June, so you'll be able to get state-of-the-art breast imaging all in the Hornell Medical Office Building at 7309 Seneca Road North. Join us for an open house on June 6th from 3 to 5. The UR Medicine Women's Imaging and Breast Center, part of St. James Hospital.
Meteorologist Rob Carolyn joining us now. Rob, it's a lot nicer out there last couple days. How's the weekend looking?
Brian, probably one of the top 5 weekends weather-wise of the entire year coming up this weekend. We've got high pressure in Wisconsin and upper Michigan this morning. It's going to be sitting across the northeast for the weekend, setting us up for some really, really nice weather. Got a lot of cloudiness out there this morning, trailing a cold front. Another frontal boundary will drop through the area tonight. What that will do is it'll take any cloudiness out of the region and allow for partial sun to develop this afternoon. Temperatures are going to be somewhere between 70 and 75. It looks like we're going to be clear tonight. Lows will drop down to about 50 to 55. Now for tomorrow, I think we're going to enjoy a really nice day as that high starts to move in. Temperatures are going to have the tendency to reach 75 to 80 tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, we're clear, 50 to 55. Lots of sunshine during the day Saturday, 75 to 80. We're partly sunny through increasing high cloudiness on Sunday. Brian, the sun came up at 5:34 this morning. It'll set tonight at 8:44. And Brian, don't forget, Crazy Day starts tonight in Canisteo.
Thanks for the reminder, Rob Carolyn. On the line now with Shawn Hogan, Steuben County Democratic Chairman. Shawn, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about Leslie Danks Burke. Now, she's the former state Senate candidate who ran against Senator O'Mara. She now has an interesting organization going on called Trailblazers. And Trailblazers helps people learn how to run for office. She helps both Democrats and Republicans and sends endorsements out for both. Our listeners may also be familiar with Leslie Danksberg because she does these appearances representing the Democrat side in debates on WETM. Have you been in any of those debates lately, Shawn? I know you've done those before.
I've done them, the Coleman and Company. I've done a couple of shows with, with him. In fact, this evening, he has one of his political pundits night in Elmira Heights, and I'm going down there. The topic of the discussion among the left, the right, unaffiliated, the panel, will be, it's titled Donald Trump, should he get another 4 years? So that should be an interesting discussion, and I hope it's civil and sticks to issues and common sense discourse. So that'll be tonight. But as far as Leslie Danksberg goes, Leslie Danks is she is an attorney that ran for state senate. She ran a commendable race, but then she went in to start a PAC, a political action committee, which serves both Republicans and Democrats and unaffiliated. What she's trying to do is promote running for office among women and among, primarily, but also male candidates who are concerned with ethics and morality and getting something done. She wants to break the gridlock, and she wants to recruit the average Joe to run for office, and who is committed to maybe term limits, also committed to good government and moving the issues of the people forward, and not get bogged down in partisan discourse. One of my fears with what's going on in New York now is that we have a total control. Democrats have total control of the state government, which is all right if they don't go too far to the left, or in the case of Republicans, too far to the right. I believe, and I strongly believe, most people are centrist, and most people want common sense government, and they want government to work for them. They want government to work to make their lives better and not get involved in this partisan bickering. When I see, some of the stuff that goes on, and some of the vitriol, and some of the hate that's spewed in some of these groups in Congress, like the Freedom Caucus, how they are intransigent, and they don't want to talk to anybody they don't want to compromise. And I think the same is true on on the Democratic side in some cases. So there has to be compromise. Any great things that have ever happened in this country depended upon compromise, and it also depended upon strong leadership. That's why I'm a big fan of Lyndon Johnson. The Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act and the Housing and Fairness and Housing Act never would have happened without LBJ's leadership and his experience of getting things done. And the same thing during the Depression and World War II. The saving of the nation from economic ruin never would have happened without strong leadership of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The strong leadership of Lincoln during the Civil War and his fight to save the Union, which was paramount. So, all that leadership is the key. And you have to be willing to work across the aisle, and you have to be able to clear the deck of the hate speak and vitriol and work together. That's what people want. And on this day in history, D-Day, where 10,000 Americans were killed on the landing of the Normandy beaches, fighting for freedom and the American way of life, and promoting the And they all came together. They didn't ask if you were Jewish or Catholic or Protestant or Republican or Democrat when you left those landing crafts. You were American, and you were fighting for the freedom and against tyranny in this world. Everyone should remember that on this day of all days.
Great way to bring us to a close. Hornell Mayor, former Hornell Mayor Shawn Hogan, Steuben County Democratic Chair Shawn Hogan, and IDA consultant Shawn Hogan. We didn't get into local issues today, but very interesting show. And as always, thanks for coming on, Shawn.
No problem. Have a great day. Great weekend.